Welcome back to Straight Talk. So last time we talked about the equipment that you need for a live production ministry. Today we're going to talk about more, topics relating to making it work. Okay, so you've got all the equipment, you've got it all hooked up, it's working, now what? All right, so the first thing that we need to talk about is where do I put my cameras? Okay, let's just assume for the moment that you have a minimum of 2 cameras, okay? Now it's pretty basic that you're gonna put one of those straight down the middle, or as close to middle as you can, and as close to the eye height of the people on the platform or the stage. And there's various reasons for that. One of them is if you put it too far above them, it makes people look small and insignificant. If you put it down below, it's intimidating and overbearing. They look too big. So if you're right in line, like we are right here, I'm looking right into the lens because it's right at my eye height, okay? Maybe just slightly below, but not too far below and not too far above. All right, so that's one camera. So where do you put the other camera? Well, a lot of people will say, well, we put it to the side. Well, great, but where to the side? The standard is you need at least 30 degrees of separation between camera angles in order for it not to feel weird or uncomfortable when you cut between. Because if you're underneath or inside of that 30-degree arc, it's going to feel very similar to the same angle. Now, where you can get away with this is if you have 2 center cameras, one is on, say, a medium shot or a wider shot, and the other one is close up. That way it doesn't feel so strange, all right? But those cameras have to be fairly close together in order for that to work. All right, so the next thing on the list is intercom. If you have multiple cameras and any of those have an operator behind them at the camera, they're not remote controlled, they're not robotic, pan, tilt, zoom, PTZs, you're gonna need to be able to communicate with those people. So that's where an intercom comes in handy. Now you can use an EarTech wireless system, or you can use a full-on wired Portacom or Clearcom. There's several manufacturers out there that make really good quality intercoms. Now, what I would recommend is anybody that's out in the sanctuary or the worship space, the auditorium, they really do need high quality dual muff headsets. And the ability, or the reason for that is because they need to be able to hear the director clearly. And even a single muff is not going to necessarily give the isolation that is necessary. Okay, so let's talk terminology. All right, so you have this intercom headset system. How do you communicate effectively? Well, first off, you need to decide and set standard terms that everybody uses and everybody understands. All right, so this goes down the list of when you take a camera, okay, or a source, you announce that over the intercom. So this would be an example of a cadence that you could use and terminology that you could use that everybody would understand. Ready, 1. Take 1, 1 is on. Ready, 3. Take 3, 3 is on. Ready, 2. Take 2, 2 is on. So what I'm doing is I'm telling the cameras to be ready. They're about to go live. Take means that I have moved them from preview to program. Okay, so now they are live. And you can use, camera 1 is on, camera 1 is live, whatever terminology, again, but those are kind of the ones that are standard in the industry. Now, if you have a more advanced system that uses something called tally, then you'll have a little green and a little red light that will go on. Green means you're on preview, and red means that you're live, all right? Those systems are coming down in price, but it's not necessarily a requirement. They are nice to have, because you can, it kind of visually backs up what you're saying to the operators, but you don't have to have it. Let's talk about the difference between a cut and a dissolve or a fade, all right? So take usually will mean, for me, in the terminology and the vernacular that I use, a take means I've cut to that source, okay? Versus dissolve or fade to camera 2. And that's really just so that if I've taken a source, a cut. Okay, that means that, let's say I go from camera 2 to camera 3, take 3. That tells camera 2 that they are now clear and they can move to get their next shot. Or, they can relax a little bit. They don't necessarily have to be right on the camera, all right? Versus if I say, all right, ready camera 2, dissolve camera 2, ready camera 3, dissolve camera 3. And, at that point, then I usually need to say camera 3 is on, meaning that camera 2 is now clear, because a dissolve takes longer than a cut, right? Makes sense. So you can imagine how bad it would look if I say dissolve camera 3 and camera 2 starts moving right in the middle of that dissolve. It just ruins the effect, and I would strongly encourage that when you're training your crew that they understand that. And just from the very beginning, even if you have an established ministry already that you've had for years, maybe you've had it for months, just say, hey, we're going to commit to using this terminology, and these are going to be the standards, and this is why. You always have to explain why you're doing something or why you're making a change, because if people understand the underlying philosophy or logic underneath it, or that's driving this change, they're much more likely to adopt that change and adhere to it. So let's talk about camera movement. All right, you're in a live environment. You're going to be panning, you're going to be tilting, you're going to be zooming, you're going to be pushing and pulling and focusing. There's a lot of action involved in live camera work. And again, going back to the terminology and the vernacular that you choose to use as a crew, it helps when everybody is using the same terms. So, are you going to use zoom in, or are you going to use push in? Are you going to use pull out or zoom out? Are you going to say float left? Are you going to say pan left? A lot of people get pan and tilt mixed up. And for the record, it's not a huge deal, because what matters is the direction. Okay, so if I say tilt left, I know that what you meant as a director was pan left, just for the record. So everybody's clear and on the same page. So I wouldn't necessarily beat yourself up if you don't get it right every single time as a director, all right? But as a camera operator, you need to understand what they want from you, all right? And this is why everybody using the same terminology every single time is so important, because when you have a miscommunication, that's where you have issues. Now, some of you may be saying, come on, Tim, it's church. It's not a big deal. Well, okay, maybe it's not. But here's the thing. Particularly for you churches that are live streaming, it is a big deal, because what is your competition? What is it that keeps people on your channel or on your live stream? Okay, what is it that keeps people on your website watching videos on demand? Certainly it's the message, but if you're not able to present that message in a way that is high quality, with good audio, good lighting, and good camera work, you're going to force them to focus on your poor camera work, or your poor audio, or your poor lighting versus the message. It becomes an obstacle, and that is why it is so important. And this is also why it is important that you really understand what is involved in producing a good quality video. So some of you might be thinking, this is way beyond where we want to be as a ministry. Okay, fine. Disregard what I'm saying. If you really want a high quality product, then this is the level of commitment. This is the level of workmanship, if you will, that is going to be required. All right, so a few moments ago, you heard me use some terms that you may not be familiar with, okay? Push, pull. That's really just a synonym, okay, for zoom in, zoom out, all right? And the reason that we use those terms is because a zoom can mean different things. It can be a really quick zoom, or it can be a really slow zoom. Whereas a push in is a very slow, controlled, intentional movement of the camera lens, okay? And the idea of a push in is that you're focusing the viewer's attention onto what you want them to focus on. This is a great move to use when your pastor is making a particularly strong point or emphasizing something. you know, to go from a medium shot and just push in into a close-up, right? Now, in comparison, a pull out is meant to reveal something, okay? So maybe you're on a medium shot and you want to pull out, you're going through congregational singing or worship time, and you want to show the space, you want to show the people, you know, that this is more than just what's happening on the platform, all right? So there's intentionality that goes into camera moves, and it's not like you have to sit down for, you know, 2 days beforehand and go through your camera moves. This is what I'm going to do here. This is what I'm going to do there. Most churches don't need to go to that level. If you're Willow Creek, sure, by all means, storyboard the entire thing. But just understand that if you're making a camera move like that, understand what needs to be driving it. You don't just make a camera move for the sake of moving the camera to add interest, okay? Understand what the viewer is feeling or what you want the viewer to be seeing, okay, when you're doing it. That's all right? Thanks for watching. If you're liking the series, if you're liking this content, give us a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button because we're releasing a video every week.
I have my bazooka cannon.